Hi guys, welcome to the new episode of For the Love of the Game podcast. So Pranav is here with me. So I'm back again on the hosting seat after the last two videos. I missed that. The talking point here is the Champions Trophy. So the squad has been announced. So before the squad was released, the talking points were mainly: will Bumrah be fit? Will Mohammad Shami be fit fully? And maybe in the batting side of things, like Yashasvi Jaiswal, does he how close he is to getting an ODI debut in this format. And apart from that, maybe the vice captaincy issue and overall maybe Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, that was a point of debate. If Sanju Samson gets a look in, so these are few of the talking points. It was before the squad was announced. So after a lengthy delay, the squad was eventually announced yesterday. Anyways, we finally got to know Shubman Gill will be the vice captain and Rohit Sharma will be leading the side in the Champions Trophy. So the top order will be Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, top three. Like Yashasvi Jaiswal will be the reserve opener. And then if you come to the middle order, it will be like Shreyas Iyer, like comes back. Shreyas Iyer, like KL Rahul, like Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya, they kind of make up the core middle order. And then we have the tail mostly comprises of Bumrah subject to fitness. Like Mohammad Shami comes back in after a brilliant World Cup last year, like last year. And then we have Arshdeep Singh gets a look in. That's nice. But Mohammad Siraj has been left out. Rohit Sharma has said, quote unquote, effectiveness within the later stages of the match. So we have to we will discuss on that as well. So overall, like they have picked Kuldeep Yadav, no Varun Chakravarti. So that was also a talking point. So Kuldeep Yadav is there. Like Ravindra Jadeja and Akshar Patel kind of make up the spin department. So Pranav, over to you. So overall, like first thought on this team as overall.
I think it's a pretty much decent side. I wouldn't say it's an explosive side, but what
Hmm.
I'm happy about is that they have not tried to experiment too much by getting a lot of new guns as they did in Sri Lanka. Um, and credit to them as well because they have not tried to tinker with a settled ODI squad. Because if you look at man-to-man differences in terms of one day World Cup versus this squad. So Pant comes back for Kishan. Jaiswal makes his way back, or rather, into the side. And I think the talking point would have been how do we replace an opener keeper with two players? And I think that's where Sanju Samson couldn't make the cut because they opted for somebody as an X factor to bring the rhythm of spin bowling. And I think Pant last played the ODI in England. He hit a swashbuckling 100. Ended up chasing that total in a winning cause. And I think that makes it even more versatile. Unfortunate on Sanju, but the problem is that, as I was mentioning, Kishan was a part of the World Cup squad. But then that role was to majorly fill in as a backup keeper, plus as a backup opener.
Yeah.
So when you're filling in two roles, you have an additional role so that they could fit in Akshar Patel or Ravichandran Ashwin for that matter. Now, in this case, we've seen that Sundar has been given a hit, the nod, and they've opted for batting depth instead of bowling powers, which actually shows that they'd only opt for two pacers. Uh, Technically, if Bumrah is fit, Bumrah and Shami make the pace attack with Hardik being the third pacer. And then you will have Kuldeep, the fourth bowler. Again, I think he's cleared from NCA, but there are tests scheduled for later this month. And then there is the two all-rounders. Who are the two? It depends on the conditions. Pretty sure Jadeja and Aksa won't play together. But it could well be that they play together depending on the sort of matchup. So if you're playing against somebody like Australia, you could play Akshar and Jadeja both together because we've left arm spinners, and then Kuldeep can do that job of taking the ball away from left from the right handers. Um, so. 11 could technically look like, let's say they start with Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul at 5, Pandya at 6, Jadeja 7, Aksa 8, Kuldeep 9, Bumrah 10, and Shami 11. So it's like three pacers, two spin all rounders, and one um, core spinner. So that gives you six bowling options. And that eventually ensures that you're not putting a lot of load on somebody like Bumrah, who's just
Hmm.
coming back, and Shami was just coming back from that injury bit. And if Bumrah is not fit, then you will see Arshdeep Singh come in for Bumrah, and then Harshit Rana might make the squad for. I just hope Bumrah is fit because
Right.
these games are crucial from a captaincy point of view for Rohit. Um, there are scans scheduled in, I think, in February first week, February 2nd, if I remember the date correctly. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much on the expected lines. Although a lot of us feel that they could have added another pacer in Mohammad Siraj, but I think uh, a lot of us don't understand this sort of combination that they have tried to pick. Is that there are two issues that key issues that needs to be addressed here. One is if Bumrah is not fit, who shares the new ball? That box is ticked by Mohammad Siraj because he's a fabulous new ball bowler. But when it comes to the death bowling, who then takes care of death bowling? Because Shami is a fix-in now. So who takes care of death bowling? Who comes in the middle overs and then bowls a couple of overs when you are in the need of a wicket? Because Bumrah uh, bowls 4 overs in the power play, two or rather 3 overs or 4 overs in the power play, two in the middle, and then four in the death. So you want somebody who can do that role for you. And Mohammad Siraj has been quite a worrisome issue in death bowling, as Rohit rightly mentioned. And even in the World Cup, he was playing a second fiddle to Shami and Bumrah. So even though he shared the new ball with Bumrah, but it's more like Shami was brought in as first change, keeping his fitness in mind. But now, since Shami is good and raring to go, shares the new ball, probably Siraj lost the cut or failed to make the cut in terms of handling the old ball. And I think that's where Ashdeep could come in as a variety. And quite rightly, I wouldn't say drop, although I used the word drop, but he might be rested. And if Bumrah is not fit, you might see him make a comeback. But then again, that's a problem uh, as to who bowls at the death because Hardik as well doesn't give you that confidence at the death um, enough. I wouldn't say that he doesn't, but then he has to bowl 2 overs in the power play,
Hmm. Yeah.
then at least 3, 4, 5 overs in the middle overs. Then to put another set of overs on him in the death overs might be a little tricky. So when you're facing gun sides like England, for example, assuming that India and England play the semi-finals, that becomes a problem, especially in Dubai, because dew becomes a factor. If you're bowling first or chasing runs, if you're not able to score or control runs in the death overs, then that becomes a problem. So they have tried to address that. The only question that they would have had is what about the wicket keeping slot? As in, who is their first preference as a wicket keeper? Is it KL Rahul or is it Rishabh Pant? And that we'll see in the England series.
Yeah, fair enough. So I think the batting side of things mostly take cares of itself. It's pretty much similar to the like World Cup we had in 2023, and I don't think there are much questions about that. Uh, but I think yeah, the Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, we need to see who gets a look in over there. And apart from that, I think the bowling without Bumrah looks a bit weak. To be honest, like if the conditions are flat, I don't expect Dubai to be very flat. Like maybe unlike in Pakistan, maybe, but if it does like help spinning conditions much more, then I think India has settled from the bowling side of things because we've got quality spinners here, Aksar, Jadeja, and Kuldeep to take care of things. But if it's a flat track in Dubai, then I see especially in the death, we going for a few runs. So we have to see how that goes. So apart from that, I think Washington Sundar getting a game, that was maybe a bit of a surprise for me personally. So I did not expect him to be in the squad per se. So do you think Washington Sundar like has that? like hitting ability to be like considered in the team? Like, do you? I know that he's a decent bowler. Maybe he can give you few overs in limited overs, but personally, I have not seen him like smash a few quick runs at the death to win a match or something like that. Like, have you seen him do that? I don't know. Like, he has got hitting capabilities, but do you think he has that like striking capability at the death in a tense situation?
No, I think, look, we have to understand what sort of roles these guys play. Um, and Washington Sundar is primarily picked for his off spin than his batting. It's
Hmm.
just an added advantage that he bats well. Okay, and that's what makes him even a little more utility cricketer. So with Washington Sundar, you have multiple options, right? Someone who bowls to left-handers if you have a matchup. He can also bowl a few overs in the power play. So that gives you an added advantage as someone who gives you 10 overs, or he can bowl 10 overs for 60 runs and pick one or two wickets, and that's enough as a support spinner, rather, because at times he might not even bowl 10 overs
True.
if he's playing, because you have lead spinners in Jadeja and Kuldeep or Aksar and Kuldeep. So being the second spinner and someone who can contribute with the bat at eight, I think it's enough from his point of view that he gives uh, one for 60 and bats around the strike rate of 120, 130, and he can do that. So it's not a big problem that Washington Sundar has made the cut. And from what I understand, Rohit Sharma likes options. Rohit Sharma likes off spinners, and that's why he takes Ravichandran Ashwin as a replacement for Akshar Patel, who was injured for the 2023 World Cup. And you might not see Sundar get a game because there's a toss-up between Jadeja and Akshar. So I'm assuming that they won't play all four spinners. I'm not looking at Dubai being. I was just checking the ILT20 schedule. Dubai hosts the final on 9th Feb. The first game in Dubai is on 20th versus Bangladesh. So there is around 11 days for the pitch to be prepared. From what I've seen in Dubai, the average scores have actually come down in one-day internationals in the last couple of years. So um, I wouldn't expect it to be, like you said, a fully flat track. Around 270, 260 would be the total that you continuously get to see. And also, I see a possibility of the entire tournament being moved to UAE, if at all that happens, because Pakistan has failed to make the deadline of getting the stadiums ready. But I'm not a journo to comment on that. But I think, yeah, there's enough duration for the wicket to be prepared, but I expect it to be slightly on the slow side. And I think that's where the ability of Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul to play spin, Shubman Gill to play spin, Virat Kohli with the white ball to play spin and maneuver those guns actually becomes the key. So this side is basically picked on relying a lot more on the batters to do the job. Um and then bowlers to do the control job. So, uh, in the 2023 World Cup, India reached the final doing the reverse. That is, their bowlers fired all guns blazing. But when it mattered the most, their batting faltered, and that's what they're trying to address here. That your batting has to come across, has to always score runs, and the reliance on the top two, top three uh, is again shown. So they are trying to build the side around key players, and after the Champions Trophy, the transition will rightly begin. So, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I don't see a lot of surprise in Sundar being preferred because, again, as the ability that he has to control the flow of runs, he should get the nod. Um, where he fits in, I don't know, but yeah, it's not a bad call to have. It's not a bad option to have, I think.
Yeah, so that, yeah, I think the his like bowling capabilities with the new ball can be a added bonus if he does get a like look in the side. But overall, so like since we are talking about Dubai, so like we saw like the conditions become much easier to batten under the lights with the dew. The dew comes in especially. So as we have seen earlier also. So how much is a factor will the toss be? Again, we don't want that to happen. Like we want to be like 50-50 kind of scenarios. So do you expect teams batting first to like keep that in mind when batting, or do you just bat normally like how you do assess the pitch? And do you expect some added extra 40-50 runs in the bank you need when you're setting up a score?
I think you might not be that big a factor um, in this time because
Yeah.
February is generally expected to be a lot cooler in Dubai.
Mhm.
Um, the heat season starts from somewhere around March.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're trying to say, but probably toss will play a role. Um, I think it's all day-night game, so the
Yeah.
start is typically around 2 p.m. or 3 p.m.
2:30.
IST. It's
Mhm.
around 1:30 Dubai time. So I think teams batting first will have to aim for another 20-30 runs, assuming that you will play a factor. Um, but I don't think you will play that big a factor because the games that I'm watching at IIT 20, uh, chasing has not been that easy.
Okay.
It's probably because of the conditions have not changed drastically in a 20 over format, completely night 9K. But I don't expect you to come in like since it's an afternoon game, you might not come in around I think 25 overs of the second innings. So that's like 75 overs done. So teams batting first will have equal opportunity to create that dent in the power play. So
Mhm.
for me, what decides the game would be how the two sides handle the first power play, and that
Okay.
probably dictates the tone of the game. Because if India gets to a 60 for one start in the first 10 overs, then that's a solid base to build on and go on to get 300, 320. But then once they do that and then come back and leak runs, then that will be a big problem. So how they utilize the first power play in both the innings matters a lot. And that's how Dubai has been structured technically in terms of games. So apart from toss, I'd feel that the first power play plays a very key role.
Yeah, I mean, so it would be interesting to see how Rohit Sharma like goes on. Like in the 2023 World Cup, he was like going from ball one. We have to see if he tries to play more of a consolidated role in this Champions Trophy or not.
I
Given
don't
there's
think
also,
so.
yeah, even I feel
I
so.
don't
He
think
should
so
play how
because
he was. Yeah.
yeah, because I think Dubai offers that sort of bounce or that sort of comfort for Rohit to go from ball one because if I remember 2018 Asia Cup, Rohit led India
Mhm.
when
Yeah,
Dhoni
yeah.
was rested. Dhoni was also captaining his 100th game, I think, in that Asia Cup, which India won in Dubai, in UAE, I think. Was it in Dubai? I don't exactly remember where it was, but
Mhm.
it was
Mhm.
in UAE. And Rohit did play well that tournament. So it's not it's not a very big problem that Rohit would have. Yes, if they're chasing, then he might have to wait a bit if they're chasing a bigger total. Um, but as I say, it just depends on how they want to approach this, especially with Shubman Gill's form of late in Test cricket. Because I am someone who believes a lot in confidence. Because if you're low on confidence, then any format you might not get enough runs, and that's where I feel the England home series will settle the nerves a bit because you're playing at home. The last ODI is in Ahmedabad. If you get a 50 or 100, then it does a lot of good things to your confidence. So probably Rohit will stick to his original approach, and he should rightly so because it gives the team a lot of more comfort to play their natural game down the order. Somebody like Virat can take time and build on that start that Rohit gives, build a partnership with Gill, Iyer, and Rahul to follow. Um, that gives enough base for somebody like Hardik Pandya to flourish. So, yeah, I think that sort of is not a big problem for me. And even if Rohit gets out playing a shot in the power play to get some runs, I don't mind that because it is something that the team needs. Because if you're suddenly 2 for 2, then that becomes a problem because we
Hmm.
saw against Australia in Chennai when in the opening game
Right, right.
he was
Yeah.
suddenly in the box, and then Kohli and Rahul had to consolidate to take the game through the line. So I wouldn't mind that sort of situation, assuming that Rohit gets out attacking, but he has to also be responsible and not play reckless. Obviously, put the loose balls away. Dubai is a very small ground as well, so it's not a big 70-meter size ground. Straight boundaries are longer. Square boundaries are quite shorter. So um, something on back of the length, Rohit will fancy his chances. So that natural approach should stick with him. But yeah, he has to be careful as well.
Yeah. So Shubman Gill as vice captain. So maybe Hardik Pandya would have been another contender to be the vice captain. So do you feel Shubman Gill has done enough to be considered as vice captain in ODI format, or do you would you wanted to give someone another go and maybe test him out a bit more in this format?
I think Shubman was vice captain in the Sri Lanka series as well, as Ajit Agarkar rightly alluded to in the press conference. And they're looking at Shubman Gill as a longer prospect in terms of leading the side, say for the 2027 World Cup, if
Mm.
at all Rohit retires after winning CT25. Um, and it's a sensible option too because you can't rely on Hardik to play all the white ball games,
Mm-hmm.
given that there's a World Cup next year. Um, and I think I read reports where Gautam Gambhir wanted Hardik as an option
Yeah,
for the
even
vice
nice.
captaincy. But I actually agree on Rohit and Agarkar going for Gill as the vice captain because it's more to actually groom or have leadership qualities with Rohit around him. And we've seen that in Australia as well, that he was giving constant inputs to bowlers
Mm.
when he was playing. So it's just with an eye on the future. Probably, um, you know, he's considered to be the most apt option in the side at the moment in terms of age as well. So he's quite young. You can give him the opportunity. So quite rightly, Bumrah will come back as the white ball captain for the 2027 World Cup. But building to that, because we know Bumrah might not play all the ODIs that is there because you have around five in England and two test matches in New Zealand and then five at home. So Bumrah might not play all ODIs. So Bumrah will be the captain. Shubman Gill will be a longer term option to keep as the vice captain so that when you're thinking about 28 Champions Trophy at home, maybe you can think of Shubman Gill and rest Bumrah completely. So it's keeping in mind how those sort of options work. Um, but I don't think Hardik has a problem being a specialist all-rounder because the value that he brings to the table should never be questioned. So I think Hardik should not be disappointed at not being given the vice captaincy, and I think he is past that stage where he'd be disappointed. He'd rather perform for the team and win the cup. So yeah, I think it's keeping in mind Hardik's workload, Bumrah's workload, and Shubman's availability as a player for the white ball format. And Shubman has done well in the ODI World Cup, scored 357 runs at an average of 40 odd. So yeah, I think it's not a big problem. I don't mind that option either. They could have had two vice captains, but Bumrah's fitness is not
Mm.
100%. That's why they didn't appoint him as the vice captain as well. So yeah, that could be one of the factors.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like what the mistake most of us make is kind of mix formats. Like Shubman Gill has not had a good test run, so we kind of thinking on the lines that maybe he's not. But his ODI numbers are pretty good, so like he should get all the backing he needs in format. So I guess so. Like once the Champions Trophy comes closer, we can do a maybe a preview of the entire tournament, maybe the strengths weaknesses of all the sides playing in and stuff like that. So overall, like, so we have the T20 series starting on 22nd in Kolkata. Then we have the three ODIs against England, and then we look ahead to the build up to the Champions Trophy. So it will be an exciting tournament because, like as always, the Champions Trophy, unlike any other tournament, is very short and crisp. Like almost all the matches are like knockout matches. So like excited to for that. Like hope the you all are also excited for watching the. So do let us know your thoughts on the Indian squad. Like any surprises you would have thought like it just did not happen, or you like maybe Varun Chakravarti or someone you would have wanted to see in, like, or maybe like thoughts on the like Yashasvi Jaiswal as a reserve opener, Ishan Kishan not getting a game in, Pant Rahul. So let us know your thoughts in the comments, and like do follow us on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff. So we will be sharing those in the description as well. So thanks for watching. We will come again shortly with another episode. Bye all.